I rise on behalf of Assemblymember Jesse Gabriel, and I'm pleased to present AB 28. Let me say that again. I'm pleased to present AB 28 because this bill will fund life-saving school safety measures and gun violence prevention programs through a modest excise tax on firearm manufacturers and dealers. Let me repeat that. This bill will fund life-saving school safety measures and gun violence prevention programs. Throughout all of the debates, we talk about prevention. We talk about safety. This bill will fund those efforts, and that should be bipartisan. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for kids in the United States. Let me say that again. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for kids in the United States. Ending that should be bipartisan. According to the CDC, more children and teens were killed by guns in 2021 than any year in the last 20 years. According to the CDC, the parents of a black son aged 13 to 19 are more likely to lose their child to gun homicide than every other cause of death combined. Since this bill was introduced, we have experienced dozens of mass shootings, including horrific incidents in Monterey Park, Half Moon Bay. In addition to the brutal human toll, gun violence also causes economic harm and imposes a severe burden on public services and taxpayers. Recent reports have found that gun deaths and injuries cost California $22.6 billion annually, of which $1.2 billion is paid directly by taxpayers. There is a conservative fiscal argument that this bill makes sense if we embrace the actual financial impact. At the same time, gun manufacturers have recorded record-breaking profits, bragging that the growth that they've experienced in recent years has been nothing short of remarkable. During the same time between 2018 and 2021, the firearm death rate for American children soared by 40%. So we have an industry making historic profits. At the same time, we're seeing historic death to our children. In short, firearm manufacturers and dealers are reaping unprecedented windfall profits as firearm deaths and gun injuries and mass shootings are impacting communities across our state. AB 28 seeks to address this challenge by providing a long-term, sustainable funding source to school safety funds and proven violence prevention programs. The revenue generated is estimated to be around $160 million annually. It is a long-term investment in the safety and well-being of our kids. Let's put that in perspective. A $160 million fund to protect our children is worth it. The first $75 million will go towards the California Violence Intervention and Prevention Grant Program, a vital program that has already helped reduce the rate of gun violence in California. We know this works. How many times have people on this floor talked about we should be doing more to prevent gun violence? We know this works. Let's fund it. AB 28 will expand school mental health and safety measures. How many times has somebody stood up on this floor and talked about the toll the pandemic has had on our young people? How many times has somebody talked about saying we should unite behind efforts to make our children's health and well-being be better? This will fund that. That should be bipartisan. To be clear, this bill is not a penalty or an effort to prevent or discourage a lawful gun purchase. It is an ordinary excise tax, no different than the 10% excise tax on fishing equipment and gear that supports the restoration of fishing sites. No different. And it's comparable to the federal taxes that have been supporting the NRA, ironically. So to be clear, this funding will help reduce gun violence and save lives. That is why this bill is strongly supported by a coalition of gun safety organizations, including Moms Demand Action, Giffords, Everytown for Gun Safety, Brady, March for Our Lives, and public health and medical and law enforcement professionals who have been serving on the front lines of the gun violence epidemic. This includes the California Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American College of Emergency Physicians, and police chiefs and departments across the state. Let me say that again. Our doctors prescribe this. Our emergency room professionals want this. We should not only want this, we should vote for this. There are numerous local elected officials who have seen the benefit of the CalVIP in their communities. City attorneys, boards of supervisors, 30 mayors. We know that Californians are counting on us to do everything we can. We know the rhetoric on this floor for a decade has supported the concepts behind this. Don't let politics stand in the way of saving the lives of our children and providing mental health care in our school districts. Fear should not be on the brow of a parent when they send their kids to school. Fear should not be in the eyes of a child at a movie theater who's in a lockdown. Fear should not be something that we learn to live with in our society. We have a proven way to reduce gun violence, a proven way to help our kids, and a sustainable funding force that is constitutional, is not new or novel, has been used by other industries. We should embrace this as a bipartisan Senate. We should send this to the governor. We should stand on the right side of history, and we should stand in the public safety with our children and our families and our teenagers around this state and send a message that we can come together on something that is right, is sustainable, and follows through on the rhetoric that we all use on this floor, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Senator Portantino, would you like to close?
Thank you, Mr. President and members. A couple pieces need some clarification. First and foremost, we did use part of the budget surplus to fund these programs. And guess what we found out when we funded these anti-violence, anti-gun violence programs? They actually work. Let me say that again. We used part of our surplus to fund these programs. And what did we learn? They actually work. And the chief of the LAPD, Chief Moore, cited the CalVIP program as being one of the most effective anti-gun violence programs out there. So for my colleague from Marietta who questioned whether they work, the answer is yes, they work. So I hope that gets your vote, because that was your concern. Do these programs work? Again, the answer is yes. To the colleagues who said, why didn't we put this in the budget? Again, it was put in the budget. What we're doing now is we're beyond the surplus, and we're creating a dedicated revenue stream. For my colleague who questioned the data, well, for the last 3 years, the #1 cause of death amongst children, cited by the Centers for Disease Control, is gun violence, surpassing automobile accidents. Again, the data shows this is a problem. And for my colleague who pointed to California's lower rate of gun violence based on other states, well, guess what that's due to? Our strong gun safety laws. Again, the data and the science show they work. So if we want to do more to cut down on youth deaths, we should do what works. This works. To my colleagues who say, should one segment of the population pay for a problem? Well, I would say we charge those who buy gas, who use our roads, a fee to make sure our roads are paved and work. This is the same principle. For those who say, well, why should I pay for it? I'm a law-abiding citizen. Well, we all pay into the common good. Why should a person who's a senior citizen pay to build the library on a high school? Because they get the benefit from having a high school with a good library, which increases their property value, even though they don't have kids in that school. If we take care of the collective good, if we cut down on gun violence, if we cut down on youth death, and we increase youth mental health services, our collective society will be healthier and safer and more productive. We all have an incumbent interest in seeing that happen. So what's exciting here is we know that this will make a difference. We know that this will benefit us. We also know it's consistent with much of the rhetoric that has been happening on this floor for a decade. To my colleague who says, well, there are other problems. You know, whataboutism. We see a lot of whataboutism on the national level. This isn't about whataboutism. This is about seizing this moment in time and making California safer and making kids safer and making our collective society healthier. So I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Ayes are 27, noes are 9. The measure passes.